If you can and would like to, please stand and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. D'Angelo, Supervisor D'Angelo, had a death in his family. Is it on?
No, the mic's in yours.
Hello.
There you go.
It is now. Okay. Mr. D'Angelo, our supervisor, had a death in his family and will not be attending tonight. We will therefore not be discussing the budget review this evening. There will be a special meeting called to do that when he's able to attend and answer questions. Okay, you have the minutes in front of you, both the closed session for January 14th and the regular minutes for, January 20th, thank you. Is there any discussion or corrections or amendments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes. At this point, I would like to ask the board to nominate someone else to moderate this meeting. Would you be willing to do it, Mr. Munsell?
I certainly can. We haven't done it very often, but I would imagine it might be customary for one of the officers to do so.
Not necessarily.
I think you could do it fine, Tony. If you didn't want to do it, I'd recommend John.
Okay. I'd rather not do it.
I'm willing to do so, however, if John would prefer.
I don't have a preference. I'm willing as well, but I don't have a preference.
Okay, I would move then that Mr. Scharf, our treasurer, moderate the meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Grant Savander. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries.
All right, we have an agenda in front of us. I would recommend a couple of amendments. Tony talked about one. The draft budget that we were going to review is Mr. D'Angelo's draft, and since he's not available to hear our feedback or answer our questions, I think that we should do that as soon as possible, hopefully next week. Also, I think since item 14E has an impact on Supervisor D'Angelo, I would recommend that we move that to 13C as a discussion-only item, and would recommend we not take any action in his absence.
Mr. Scharf, that is sort of intimately tied to our budget. And are you proposing then that it will be considered at the same special meeting as the budget review?
I wanted to give the board an opportunity to discuss it tonight if they wish, but I would prefer that we take no action.
Okay.
I would think that perhaps the supervisor would want to comment on that item as well. Not that he couldn't later, but that would
So you want to strike it?
Would be a reason to perhaps put it on a later meeting agenda.
I'm fine with that.
Were you thinking, John, of moving, you said the draft budget, do you also want the budget amendments in F moving as well, or no?
No, I think that we can do that tonight. So what is Shelley or Brand or Jeff regarding item 14E as presented? Are you okay with postponing that to a later meeting?
I am fine postponing it to a later meeting, but we did make I know that we postponed the zoning, the zoning administrator to a later meeting too. In the meantime, though, we only have a stopgap solution to that. So if we are gonna move this and discuss this, I would like to put that back on the list of things that gets addressed quickly. Because they were brought up at the same time by our attorney, and they were supposed to be addressed last time, and they were not.
Would you prefer to do that at the same special meeting that we do the budget review?
Potentially, I mean, let's, between that meeting and the March meeting, whichever one is a little less populated.
March is after the meeting.
I would agree. I would like to see it, if we're gonna do it, let's do it at the special meeting.
Okay, but not tonight. Okay, so, yes, Brandon.
So, my comment is I'm a fan of at least discussing it at some level. I agree that we shouldn't take action, but if there's feedback you all have, getting that out so we know it now, Mike can read the minutes, it'll speed up when we take this up again. I guess I have the same question. You know, we put out resolutions for the code enforcement officer and the zoning administrator. I don't want to take action tonight, but if you have comments on the structure, language, edits, 10, 15 minutes at most, I would maybe we move that up to the discussion item, at least talk about it. If you've read it, it's not in the package, I sent an email out. If you haven't seen it, forget it, we can move on. But if there are comments, it's good. We only meet once a month, you get to talk about it.
Yes, Tony.
My only concern with that, Grant, is that I would prefer it be pushed out, definitely. Sri Kumar Giri did not wish her contract or any element of it be discussed that when it's not in presence. So, do you have any thoughts on it, Jeff?
No, I don't have any thoughts on it. I was actually just gonna make some comments tonight about how it's going.
Okay.
But otherwise, not really, and as we talked about, I'm okay just doing it as a temporary basis, but I've got some comments on that as well when we get to it, so.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to do it in darkness. I mean, Shrees gets to know everything, all the comments we make, and if you do have comments, I think it speeds up the meeting process. You know, we do tend to get bogged down in language sometimes, and if anybody had language comments, you could just tell me or whatever, we can adjust them. If you didn't, it'll take 2 seconds and we move on. Has anybody read the email that I sent out at all? And there's
I'm
no,
afraid I have not.
do you have any comments at all? To make it a budget item, or to make it an agenda?
The item on the table right now is the agenda, if we are going to adopt an agenda.
What, Grant's discussing
Should we?
modifications to
Yeah.
that right now, so.
Well, why don't we just do this? Why don't we add it to discussion, and we can have both the attorney, the code enforcement officer, and ZA as possible feedback. They could go quick. If there is no feedback, we just move on. We limit it to
5 minutes?
something like that.
I think that's okay.
You're in
So,
I would move to,
13C.
yes, 13C, attorney contact policy resolution and zoning administrator, I believe it was supervision,
An enforcement officer.
and enforcement too, the way it's split, you mean? I like that.
Well, the language is identical. If there's a
Okay.
comment in there, it applies to both.
Okay.
That's all.
I would move then that the agenda be accepted as amended with item 14E moved to 13C as a discussion item and adding in 5 minutes for a zoning administrator policy, discussion and zoning enforcement.
It actually becomes B, right? Because we're removing draft budget.
No, it's moved up to discussion, Jeff.
No, I know
But he's
that.
saying we're omitting 13.
Well, we're getting rid of A, so,
Oh,
so it becomes,
yes,
it
I'm
becomes
sorry,
B.
you're right. So that's
Okay.
Okay, I'll finish my motion. I would, I would move that we accept the agenda as amended, creating item A, the DIFT interlocal agreement, and B, the attorney contact resolution, zoning administrator resolution, and zoning enforcement officer resolution.
Is there a second?
I second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Presentation by Anna Peckrell, Dexter Senior Center. Welcome, Anna.
Sorry, I had heavy, so I needed somewhere to place my document. Sorry.
You should go with podium like
Yeah, right.
My name is Anna Peckrell. I'm the Executive Director of Dexter Senior Center, and I just wanted to thank you all for giving myself and the other two organizations that are here today the opportunity to speak about the good work that we're doing in this community. And I'm especially excited to share because 2025 was the most transformational year in Dexter Senior Center's 55-year history. And we're going to talk a lot about that, but I first just wanted to briefly touch on why senior centers exist and why Dexter Senior Center exists, which is that we believe that older adults in our community deserve a place where they can be seen, supported, and connected with one another. And what that looks like in practice is the senior center is oftentimes the difference between somebody becoming isolated or staying engaged in their community. Last year, when I presented to Webster Township's board, my primary goal, our organization's primary goal, was to move into our new facility. And that was a project that you were all, I believe, familiar with, and it was a very large undertaking. But I'm very proud that we did accomplish that goal, and in July of 2025, we moved into our new facility. And the response from the community was immediate and, frankly, greater than we ever expected. And so we will be looking at what the numbers are and just the impact that it's had, but it was just a really big year. And with the growth that we saw, our internal structures also needed to change. So in the beginning of 2025, Dexter Senior Center had 2 part-time employees, both working about 10 hours a week. By the end of the year, we had 2 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees working anywhere from 15 to 30 hours a week. 2025 was also the year that our senior center received its first disbursement from the Washtenaw County Older Persons Millage. We were one of the 10 qualified senior centers that received $200,000 in funding, which was an incredible stabilizing resource for us, especially at this very transformational period. But what we understood to be true before we received the funds, and what we really understand now, is that this funding is not enough to sustain the senior center by itself, especially at the rate of growth that we're seeing. And we can look at the specific details in that once we get into the report here. I thank you, Tony, for allowing us to get some information into the packet. To start, there's just a cover page that has some photos of our members and what a day looks like at Dexter Senior Center. And so if you come in at any time of day, you might see things like our fitness programs going on, our arts and craft classes, music programs, and even some of our members may not be there because they're on a trip. We started doing group trips in 2025, which was something that our members had been asking for years. So that was really exciting to see. On the second page of our packet, there is a letter to you all that I hope you've had or have the opportunity to read. It does dive a little bit more into some of the things that I just mentioned, the changes that we saw in 2025. But I want to focus specifically on one paragraph in this letter that talks about the specific things that we did to try and engage more Webster Township residents. So throughout the year, we dropped off newsletters at the town hall to try and catch residents of the community that were coming in for township meetings so that they could become members of the center. We also sent social workers on our Meals on Wheels routes in the township to see if there were any any existing needs that weren't being met. And we also started trying to work with the Historical Society on several different things. So that included going to their events and providing information to Webster Township residents. That included selling member-made items at the Webster Township General Store and sharing profits between that, and it's continuing to happen. We're continuing to look at ways we can partner with one another, including hopefully in the future hosting satellite programming at the Historical Society for Historical Society members and Dexter Senior Center members. On the next page of your packet, there are some just moments or statistics of impact for 2025. At the beginning of 2026, we had 865 members, which is more than a 100% increase from the last time that I visited you. And I can tell you that this number continues to grow. As of today, February 17th, we have 940 members. So we've increased by just about 80 in a month and a half. In 2025, we hosted 650 fitness classes, which was an 81% increase over 2024. And I'm proud to say that all of our fitness classes are free to members. That's 10 plus classes a week. If you pay your $35 membership or receive a membership scholarship, you can attend these fitness classes for no extra cost. Over 10,000 meals were served through our Meals on Wheels program and our congregate lunch program. And our average daily visitor count was 77 people. What the programs and services that we saw individuals coming in and checking in for can be broken out into about 4 different categories. The first and largest being our health and aging services, which includes all of the fitness programs, health education talks, health screenings, and any mental health activities. Close behind that is social connection and recreation activities, which includes your games, puzzles, just social visits, special events, and parties. And third is our learning arts and enrichment, so arts and craft workshops, music programs, concerts, language clubs. Currently we have a French, Spanish club, and we're starting a German club in the next month or so. And finally, 5% of check-ins are for our congregate meal program. So that is happens 3 days a week. You can come and have lunch at the center. And on the next page, we have some Webster Township specific information. I always like to start by just sharing with you what the current older adult makeup is in Webster Township. So currently 17% of Webster Township residents are over the age of 65, which is about on par with the county average and the state average. When we look at those older adults in Webster Township, 13% of them, it might be a little bit more now that we've grown our membership by 80 in the past month, but when I put this together, 13% of Webster Township residents or older adults in Webster Township were members of the Senior Center. 17% of our total membership base is from Webster Township. And I especially like this one, this last bar graph on this page, which shows the rate of change in membership of Webster Township. So as you can see, in 2022, we were only serving 18 Webster Township residents. As of 2026, we are serving 150, and that is a 130% increase in a year since I last presented in 2025. With Webster Township residents, their top 5 activities to come to the center for are social visit, which that is a really significant point because the social visit button is just for anyone that doesn't have a particular program or activity that they've come to the center for. They just came to the center to be at the center. And so that is the #1 reason that older adults from Webster are coming. Second is cards. Third, chair yoga. 4, cardio drumming. And 5, any of our crafts or needlework. And also just a fun little statistic, 176 wave rides were provided to or from Webster Township to Dexter Senior Center. On the final page of your packet, we have our strategic priorities for 2026 along with our annual budget. And I do want to point out that 40% of our annual budget is being funded by the Washtenaw County Senior Millage, and the rest is supported by our municipal partners, grants, sponsorships, individual donors, and a very small amount from member dues. Our goals for 2026, we have a lot because we still have a lot of growing to do to keep up with the huge increase in demand that we've seen, but some of our goals are to become a dementia-friendly senior center, to grow our senior nutrition program, to do some updates to modernize the senior center with more technology for different things like doing web recordings of programs for older adults who may be homebound, which would include broadening our programs to serve a wider range of older adults and improving outreach to isolated older adults. You'll also see on this page a chart of the other municipal contributions that we're receiving, or municipal funding that we're receiving, and we have been working to increase those numbers with the other municipalities, and it is something that we will continue to do. But we're very grateful for Webster Township from the support that you've provided for us. Dexter Senior Center would not be around today if it weren't for the municipalities that were supporting it prior to the older persons millage. And you all were here for us then, and we really do hope to continue that partnership in 2026 for the benefit of your residents. Are there any questions?
Can you share what the user percentages are from the other 3 local municipalities?
The user percentage?
Yeah, so Webster is 17.3% of the membership.
Yes. Dexter Township, off of the top of my head, Dexter Township is around 15% of our membership base. Dexter Township actually has 2 senior centers that residents go to, so Chelsea Senior Center, many of their residents also go there. Scioto Township is, I believe, about 27% of our membership base. And then the remaining, we have the city of Dexter, and then we do have quite a few folks from Lima Township, a few from Linden Township. We even have folks in Ypsilanti Township. And so there's probably about 10% of our total membership base that's coming from a little bit further out. But I think I can't, what's the math on that? What did I do there?
That leaves 38% for the city of Dexter.
Yes, that is a pretty accurate number,
I'm sorry, Dexter City is 38%?
approximately.
Yeah, so 38, 17, 27, 15. Oh, you're right.
15, 27,
Yeah.
59.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, 31, sorry.
Joe was the 10% for the combination
Oh,
of
okay.
line over here.
10%.
Yeah.
15, 27.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. You're in the proposed budget as of right now. You're in the proposed budget for 65,000.
Yes. That is an increase over our funding that we received last year. However, if we were to look at what our budget is increased by with the new staff that we've had to hire and the new membership, the new programs that we're hosting, our budget did increase by about 36%. And if we were to ask Webster Township to contribute the same percentage of our budget as we did last year, our request would actually be closer to about 68,000. But we are hoping and looking to try and increase municipal contributions from other municipalities, and just always looking to diversify where our revenue is coming from. I'm currently completing a certified fundraising management course, which is a 6-month course that will hopefully help the senior center find more ways to be sustainable for a long time. And so I'm about 1 month into that course. I go again next week, and I'm looking forward to bringing what I'm learning in that class to the senior center to make it more sustainable.
So Anna, you have 10,000 meals served. Is that Meals on Wheels too, or is that like all of it, like your 3 days a week and then?
Yep, that's all of it. So Meals on Wheels are served 5 days a week, and on Fridays we also, to clients who need it, will deliver frozen meals to them to have throughout the weekend. We also, multiple times a year, send out emergency food boxes for those clients to use. Shelf-stable food for when there's inclement weather and we're not able to deliver meals. And that also includes the congregate cafe program. That's 3 days a week.
Great.
If I can have a follow-up comment, I guess. I'm very supportive of the program and the proposed budget. I would ask that in future years, you and the Senior Center Board look at the users and have requests for funding from the municipalities that they're from, reflective or more reflective of that. Because as it is, we're paying on those ratios a greater share.
Oh, you are. And that is something that I'm very aware of. And this year I really, or in 2025, really was trying to make more equitable. Dexter, the city, went, so they contributed $65,000 to us in 2025. In 2024, they were at $40,000. And so I have been making significant efforts to try to increase the other municipalities' fair share. But it is difficult to come up with what a fair share is when some individuals utilize the senior center more than others. So we may have more Dexter City residents as members, but we could see that Scioto Township residents use the center at a higher proportion. And while I have tried to come up with different ways to make it more equitable, unfortunately I do not have a vote. And while I would vote to increase the other municipalities more, it is challenging. Even sometimes to get on the agenda to speak at certain places. And so I really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to share what's happening at the senior center.
Thank you.
I do. I have one more thing. Just in follow-up to Dan's, and we had talked about that, I discussed that with you at length in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I know it's sometimes difficult to get some of the municipalities to up their share. I do appreciate some of the stuff that you've been doing with more outreach and bringing things closer based on, we've been paying more, so catering a little bit to bring more out here closer to the residents. And I would just encourage you to keep doing that until that parity gets a little bit closer.
Absolutely. I think of all of the municipalities that are currently funding the senior center, we did more outreach in Webster Township than any other municipality, because you've invested in us, we want to invest in your community as well.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marie? Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Hi everyone, my name is Marie Gress. I'm the Executive Director of The Wave. For anyone not familiar with The Wave, we are a public transportation nonprofit that serves Western Washtenaw County. We take people anywhere within Washtenaw County. The majority of our rides tend to stay in Western Washtenaw, but we go anywhere in Washtenaw County. I have two documents in your packets for you tonight, and I want to start with the annual report document. Looks like most of you have that out on top. Something I'd like to note on the front page is that WAVE in 2025, we launched a registration program. So we could learn more about our riders, we could make sure that the various discounts that they should be eligible for that they receive, and then of course with the Washtenaw County Older Persons Millage, we wanted to make sure that we were correctly capturing all of those for reporting purposes. Through that, we found that we are serving at least 1,200 households across the service area. During 2025, we had 678 riders ride for the first time. 329 households were one-time users, so they just needed a ride to the auto shop, they needed just a one-off ride to work, or their kid to get to school, something along those lines. They were just one-time users. 5% of our ridership were youth, 79% were 60 plus, 44% have low incomes, and 65% of our riders have a disability. Moving on to the next page and staying high level for just another moment. Door-to-door is the service that your residents receive. So we drive up to their home, we come up to their door, we make sure they get into the vehicle safely, and when we get to their destination, we also make sure they get to the door of their destination safely as well. Door-to-door is offered Monday through Friday from 6 to 9. The average trip was 7.9 miles, and they were on the bus for about 18 minutes. The purpose of the ride, historically, number 1 is medical, number 2, food access, and number 3, wellness. And that remained true for 2025. And then we have some other noteworthy stats that we're starting to track at the board level. Ride sharing increased from 2 to 2.7, that's an 8.5 increase. Miles per ride decreased. Rides per month increased. Unfulfilled rides increased, and so for us an unfulfilled ride is when someone calls and makes a request and that time is full. Most of the time we're able to schedule them for a different time, a different day. We might have to call another person. Let's say caller A needs a ride for a doctor's appointment. We can't fit her in. But there's rider B who's going to the grocery store and they can be flexible with their time. So we may actually negotiate with an additional rider to then get this person on the schedule. But those initial declines are counted as an unfulfilled ride. No-shows decreased. No-shows are one of the more costly aspects of public transportation. We took the time to book the ride, to drive out there, to give them the ride, and then we're waiting and we're waiting, we're knocking, we're calling, and no one's coming out. And so then we have to move on to the next person. But those no-shows did decrease during 2025. And then canceled rides. Haven't been tracking canceled rides for very long to know if we feel like an increase or a decrease is what we want to see there. But we do know that a lot of people are calling to make a ride, and then they figure out a different way to get there, or an appointment changes. And so they call us and they cancel that ride. So there have been times where our schedule is packed full, and then that decreased because of the canceled rides. And so you can look at the next page as kind of a comparison. So that first one was across our service area what door-to-door looks like. And so this next page is just your Webster door-to-door trips. That top line graph is showing us that you're trending While you have ups and downs, you're trending around 70 rides in a month. During 2025, 28 unique households were served. The purpose of the ride, actually number 1 for your residents was wellness, number 2 was employment, and number 3 was education, then food, then medical, or then medical, then food. And I thought that was interesting. And then you can see where riders are going to. When they start in Webster Township, they're going to Scioto, City of Dexter, City of Ann Arbor, Chelsea, and Ann Arbor Charter Township. And when they're coming back here, it was the same set, so Scioto, Dexter, Ann Arbor, Chelsea. Any questions so far? Great. The next page is a financial overview. This is of all of WAVE's budget. Our budget is about $2.2 million. So the revenues, you can see how we have a chunk coming from federal and state local bus operating. We've got a chunk that are state and federal awards, local government, local agreements, fairs, donors, foundations, and other. And then similar pie graph for the expenses. So we've got our payroll, we've got benefits, maintenance, fuel, tire supplies, our phones and softwares, professional fees, and community outreach. I'll say that these pie charts are based on our unaudited financials, and they'll be updated once our 2025 audit is completed. So a few things that we've been working on this past year. We've been piloting, we piloted some service area. And so last year that looked like Pinckney, Unadilla, Putnam in Livingston County. We had Stockbridge, Waterloo, and Grass Lake. The only community that stayed with us after that piloted time was Grass Lake for Tuesdays and Thursdays. The other communities decided that the utilization was low enough that they would rather just stick with the transportation agencies they already have instead of paying for both. Piloted services, so we worked with Chelsea DDA to try some late night services. We really focused on youth rides, we got that increased. We did some more group trips and really focusing on how we have all this data. And we can make all these charts about this data, but then what do we do with this data? How do we want to operationalize it and use it as benchmarking going forward? And so that was something we committed to this past year. And looking forward, WAVE turns 50 this year. Actually, today is our birthday, so thank you for celebrating with us, having me here. On June 20th, we're going to have a celebration event, so save that date on your calendars. In 2026, we're continuing to refine our service area, and then we've engaged with the older persons millage. So the older persons millage has, or the Office of Aging Services, I should say, has identified transportation for older adults as a priority. And what they have done with the current agreements that we have in place is they're actually covering the entire cost of the ride for older adults. Including the deadhead, which is a huge thing, and we'll get to that when we talk about your budget next. And the final chart there, you can just see the trend, the growth trend that we've had over the last several years. This last page, I don't have to read all this to you, it's just highlighting some more good stuff that we did during 2025, but I do have highlighted on there that are asked for you this year for the updated service agreement is $18,000. And that is actually a decrease from last year. So with that, unless there's any questions, I can move on to the budget that I gave you.
May I ask?
Yeah.
One question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no apologies.
On page 3, Webster door-to-door trips.
Yep.
Did I hear you correctly? I thought you said in Webster there were 25 unique homes in the year of 2025? Is that correct?
28 unique households
28.
were served. Yep, it's at the, in the line graph. Do you see that? Right above the dates. Yeah.
Okay. Heard you say it.
I just tucked it in there, you know?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
following on that, what would happen if we had suddenly 100 unique users? How would that affect your service?
That's a great question. So you can see on the, which page is that? The last, second to the last page, page 5. Back in 2021, we were at 21,000 rides for the year. When I started in 2023, we got up to 36,000 rides, which is a pretty significant increase as is. And then this past year, we were at 55,000 rides. And so we have been meeting the need as best we can by usually adding a driver or extending hours for a driver as funding permits. We encourage a lot of ride sharing, so you saw that number increase. When we're able to encourage more ride sharing, that allows, that just, they're sharing the cost then, right? And so we try to coordinate those ride shares as much as possible if suddenly there was a big need and a big increase. I would also say that it depends on where the funding is coming from, right? If these 100 users were all trying to go to the Dexter Senior Center because they just heard how awesome that is, then the county's paying for that, and I would ask them to add another route to our contract.
Cool. I was just trying to understand how elastic the cost structure was.
Yeah, and on our door-to-door service, we have 10 routes, so spread out through that 6 to 9. And so that does give us a little bit of flexibility too, to distribute those rides between multiple drivers, right? And instead if we only had 100 additional people out of nowhere would be a lot, but that's a number that's pretty doable in our current system.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we made a few changes to how we go about preparing the budgets that we bring to you guys for service agreements. I know that when my predecessor a while ago was here, Michaeline, she had, I'm not sure how she came up with her contracting number, but I know that at the end of the year she came back to municipalities and townships and asked for a reconciliation. And most of the times that meant that townships would have to pay a little bit more because usually costs throughout the year for transit related things, maintenance, gas, those tend to increase, right? If the service grew, you would see increases. And when I first got here, I talked to a few townships and municipalities and they're like, we do not want to go back to that. We want our number in the budget and we want to stick to that budget number as much as possible. And so then my immediate predecessor was using trip information. And this makes sense. Trips are how we incur a lot of costs and things. But the more the board talked about it this past year, a trip from here to Webster Historical Society is a very different trip than from here to Manchester or here to Domino Farms for your medical appointment, right? It's different because we're driving further, that's more miles, more wear and tear, and it's more driver time. So we've shifted now to using miles and hours averaged over the past 3 years. So instead of saying just last year you had this huge spike, and so now this year we're asking for more when really your rides could go back down. We're looking over a 3-year average to make sure that everybody's trying to stay as sustainable as possible. Neither of us are having to experience that pendulum too much. So on the spreadsheet I gave you, that's the cost allocation basis that you see in the expenses, and that top chart. So you'll see our chart of accounts, you'll see the allocation basis. FY27 amount is for our door-to-door program, and then your portion of those costs is that final column. And since you were asking about percentages of other communities before, I pulled up my chart. And I can tell, would you like to hear all of them?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. I can send this to you too, if that's easier, so you don't have to write all this down.
That'd be
Yeah, I think that'd be easy.
You still want to hear a few?
Sure, a couple.
Okay. Okay, the big one. So Chelsea is the biggest one. Their hours for door-to-door service Chelsea represents 43.9% of the hours in our door-to-door service and 41.6% of the miles driven. City of Dexter is 7.5% of the hours and 7.5% of the miles. Scio is 15.4% of the hours and 14.6% of the miles. Want me to keep going? Any others you're interested in right now? I'll send you the whole chart. Okay, yeah. So that's how we went about figuring out what the cost of providing transportation in Dexter, or in Webster is. So the grand total, what it really costs Wave to provide transportation here is $54,600, right? So next up we get to the revenues. We look at fares. We look at, for the Older Persons Fund and the Specialized Services and the RTA awards, those are all older adult and or people with disability funds. So we actually blend the hours and miles together in order to determine those. And when I send you my spreadsheet, this will be on there too. So you'll see that your cost comes down because fares are being taken into account, the Older Persons Fund is being taken into account, and then scooting down to the bottom few rows, there's two lines there from Ann Arbor Area Transit Authority, AATA. They are passing through federal local bus operating and state local bus operating formula funds. And so MDOT, we are estimating at 30%, so you see that there. And the good news for us that actually is now retroactive for last year, one of the reasons our audit's not done yet, is that ADA has increased our federal cap. It used to be capped at $174,000, and now we're up to about $360,000. And so that means we can, you know, reduce the bill for townships like you. Any questions about this?
Bargain.
Yeah?
Well done, thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much, Marty.
Yeah.
All right, Dita, you're next. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, I'm not going to be as fancy. Anyway, I'm Dita Albert, who, for those that don't know me, I'm the president of the Webster Township Historical Society. Anyway, the reason why we came before you here, and thank you for hearing us out, is that we are a volunteer organization that over the past years have been supported by grants, membership, and other donations and things like that to provide our programming, history sharing with the community. And as we always go for grants and try to do different things, it became quickly apparent that there aren't very many grants out there for day-to-day operations, things like maintenance, repair, you know, small items, office supply, and, you know, right now, let's say we have a chimney that we have to replace, and so those kind of day-to-day things, lawn care, insurance, and all of that. So I was talking and saying, well, how could we get some help? And it was suggested that maybe we can come before you and see if you could help us out with that. I think we are a valuable asset to the community, not only through the historical preservations, archives, the historic buildings, but also to the socialization to the community members through programs, events, and other things. Last year, if you look at page number 3, This is a list of events that we had put on last year, and the attendance was approximately 3,000 people, community members of all ages, young, old children. And one of the wonderful things about it, that it also provides a lot of our docents, our seniors. We have women's group, men's group, so we provide socialization, support, and a general feeling of community. So with that being said, we were hoping that the township would agree to help sponsor and fill some of those holes that the grants that we are going for don't fill. It's a short one, but any questions?
I do.
Yes.
So, in looking at this, you want us to fund a position. Does that mean that you are expecting us to fund this position every year? Or how are you gonna sustain the cost of this?
Okay, so this ask is for this year. For next year, I mean, we're still going to look for more funding opportunities. This particular reason why this amount is, right now what we are starting is archiving. And we got a grant for doing all the digitalization of the archives that we have, which are, you know, community members, the township documents and all of that. So the purpose is to digitize everything to make it available online. So we, through the grant, got all the equipment, the scanning, the whatever it needed. We got Past Perfect program, which is a wonderful historic program that can track all the inventory, the photographs, you know, the equipment, the historical materials that have been donated to us, you know, what they are, where they came from, and all of it. And eventually, what we are hoping to do is putting it so people can search it online. That is not only to prevent from too much document handling, it is to preserve everything. The other things that we are doing is providing safe storage for everything. And so the hours are for the person to be ahead of this archival process, that understands the program and make sure everything gets cataloged correctly and put in an appropriate thing. So whether that would be necessary for next year, we don't know, but you know, this is like our first time we're asked for any kind of a support. And so, excuse my inexperience in this, but that's basically, so that may change. It may be less or more. You know, where that is. You know, if you look at the last page, there are some explanations toward the bottom. Does anybody have any other questions or clarifications?
I do.
Sure.
That sounds wonderful when you're digitizing everything and it'll be available online. Will there be a fee associated with like downloading a copy of a picture, or, I mean, there should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so basically just to search for something, it's kind of very similar to what the county does. If you want an actual physical copy of the document, you pay $2 or whatever it is to be able to print it out. So that's definitely a possibility to do that, because a lot of the people that we have that call our office, you know, searching their family members and stuff like that, could just look for everything right there. And they come from all over the country, you know, so they call from California. Hey, my grandfather grew up in Webster Township. Can you tell me, you know, whether, you know, the unfortunate part actually of that is that the tax rolls were the main things, the voting records and all of that. But if you were not on the tax roll, if you didn't own a property, let's say you were just you know, a worker somewhere, there would be really hardly any record. So that has been frustration for But we also have talked with the Webster Library, and they have a lot of other documents that are pertaining to Webster history, that they agreed we could go there and take pictures. So we're really trying to get as best a picture for what the community was.
And a different question, can you share information on the membership last year? Like, excuse me, what is the total membership and how much of that is Webster versus outside surrounding areas?
That's a good question. Majority,
90% are within.
90% are Webster residents. There are a few that aren't, but a lot of them, yes. Hopefully to increase that, and with the increasing of the different programming that we do, we have people, when we first started not too long ago, and the reason why that was possible also was when we connected all the buildings with the walkway, which you guys helped with, and also by doing that parking lot. A majority of the people that come to our events are seniors, people with mobility problems, and that made it for them possible to come and enjoy it. And one of the other comments that was wonderful, they said, "Oh my God, this is like the little greenfield village." And what I noticed is it was so nice to see where you would see 4 generations coming to our event, grandfathers, fathers, their father, and because it's not so overwhelming. It's easy to access, you get fun history, fun facts, and activities, and it's not like something that's going to kill you because you're going to be there for 7 hours. Most of our events are like, 4 hours. So you come, you enjoy, you get a little bit of everything, and so everybody feels, the people that have come here felt that it was a really precious asset to the community. So we have gotten really great feedbacks.
Dita, is the administrative assistant, is that new?
So she has been with us for a year now. We did have one before, and I would say it's been we had one that was very, very limited and part-time. The one, Debbie, that's actually the administrative assistant right now, is very versed in everything and has been a godsend to us. It's a part-time position still, but I was the head of the organization at that time, was pretty much just working with the president, which was fine. Our needs have grown so much, and trying to do the infrastructure, we have gotten QuickBooks that we had just booked up on that, and so we are trying to do everything so it's very easy to do, so we don't have to keep, like for instance, we had a full-time accountant, the cost for that. So with the QuickBooks, it takes the pressure off us, and it makes everything very visible. One of the hardest part, where before everything was on spreadsheets. So the hardest part is when you are tracking grants, and like I said, majority are restricted for specific things, you have to be very accurate, and when you write your reports to show your grant supporters what you're spending money on and how, then it makes it very easy to show and just pull out rather than having to lead through things. So we're working very hard on trying to make it easier for everybody. Any other
Any
questions?
further questions?
I have one. So I noticed in our budget that we did not contribute to the Historical Society in 24, 25, or 26?
We have made small, not contributions, but small payments for the preservation of documents.
That would be about $250.
Yeah, so you have 15,000 in there to fix.
And I believe we had a one-time thing for helping to pay for.
Yeah, we did 22,000 one time for
A contribution to the walkway,
contribution to the walkway.
That's
and
correct.
then also, you know, paving that part.
Fair enough. Okay.
And connecting it to the village walkway, which was, you guys have been wonderful, but not, you know, it's just, this is important to us just for the day-to-day and would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, so the big ones are fixing the old town hall, chimney, and the blacksmith shop.
Yeah, there's like, for instance, one of the biggest problems were, we never had what you call a regular exterminator. And what had happened was, I think, you know, like 2 years ago, we started notice carpenter bees. And last year, there were so many carpenter bees at the town hall. They were in between documents, in between papers. So we said, we can't handle this because, you know, it's destroying the structure. And so we hired somebody, and they have to come on a regular basis and do that. The other thing that, you know, we're talking about little things where it would be helpful. So we have Maymass Museum, Maymass Barn was now, about a year ago, changed into a farm museum. And so it has all the old equipment, you know, Maymass saddle, and it's just a lot of old farm equipment and things like that. So the problem is the birds. The birds keep getting in there and of course soiling the exhibits and things like that. So one of our priorities is to try to figure out how to close it so so the birds don't get in. So it's little things like that, you know, it's not like humongous things. And we mentioned a few things here, as you see in the breakdown, but you know, it's just like more of an example of the type of things, you know, that we run up against. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Just a plug, if you're not aware of the membership within the Historical Society, you receive a discount card for valuable savings at local businesses in town.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I forgot to say that. Have you used it? The discount? Yeah, so I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, so this is one of the new things that, you know, we wanted to make the membership valuable to our community and to our members. And so we got, I think it's 10 businesses. And like, for instance, Radovitz, you get 15% off your purchase. If you go to, is it Tiani, the soap place, you get 15%. The flower shop, you get 15% on your purchase. And like the Dexter Pub, you get 20% off the card holder. And if you go to, what do you call it, Dexter Bistro, you get 15% off for the whole table, one person. So there, it's not too many businesses. We're hoping to get more on board, but I mean, it's really something, it's a nice discount. Thank you.
Thank you, Dita.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is the call to public. This is the opportunity for all of you to stand up and say whatever you want for 3 minutes. Welcome, Jean. Good to see you.
Thank you. We're coming out of hibernation.
I understand.
Slowly but surely. Anyway, I'm sure that most of you are aware of the situation with the Washtenaw County Road Commission and the Workner Road trees that the Road Commission is planning on cutting down century plus old oaks and hickories. And for me, this is the third time that I've been in front of the Washtenaw County Road Commission questioning their decision-making. Also been to the Washtenaw Council. because they're the only ones who can influence the road commission, who seems to be impervious to residents' concerns and questions. They seem to be not very environmentally responsible, to be cutting down 48 plus, 100 plus year old trees. So one of the ideas that Sheila Polkowski has come up with is a tree ordinance. There are communities like Canton has a tree ordinance so that any tree that's larger than 10 inches in diameter that is planned to be cut down for a project or a road project has to be reviewed. And since the road commission doesn't seem to be interested in any environmental concerns of the residents of Washtenaw County, I'm hoping that Webster Township would entertain the idea of creating a tree ordinance, because many of our roads have beautiful trees along them. And as we all know, we're all dealing with global warming, even though it's a dirty word right now. Trees are extremely valuable, not only for their cooling effect, for the wildlife they support, but for all of us to feel that we're in a pleasant environment. And I don't mind telling you that I'm sick to death of the Washtenaw County Road Commission. I would like to see them, like Wayne County, disbanded. And I know that none of you have any influence over them whatsoever, but I'm just spreading the word because I'm tired of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Kay Strumler, 8255 Huron River Drive. I would like to speak to you as the Webster Township representative on the Huron River Watershed Council Board. I'd like to make 2 updates. The first is about data centers. So last July, at our Huron River Watershed Board meeting, we had a presentation about data centers, their water, energy, and land use. And in the fall, I sent you some more links, updates to that. And most recently, Dan Brown of the Huron River Watershed Council has sent us the current state laws and incentives and talked to us about what are the water requirements, what are the potential impacts on water quality. So as we all know, data centers have become a rapidly emerging land use. So I just wanted to highlight that Dan Brown has done that, and it's in the written notes that I sent you. Also a plug for Dan Brown. So he has been for 2 years a member of our Natural Features Committee, and he's agreed to a 3rd year. His day job is an expert at the Huron River Watershed Council, and his expertise and experience has helped us a great deal on the Natural Features Committee learn more about and develop materials for a number of topics. And he's been the primary contributor to content for the website information that we're working on about natural features. So he has been a real asset to us. Second point, the state of the Huron. So in November, the Watershed Council sponsored a comprehensive overview of the Huron River watershed activities status. And they presented to us the results of the macroinvertebrate study. So this has been ongoing since 1992. It's bugs and insects, right? So for 3 decades, they've been measuring the amount of bugs with the same procedures and the same equipment at the same sites. And this consistency is really important for the quality of the data. So they look at, so basically the more you find, the better. And they also look at diversity for pollution-sensitive bugs. So they also have standards. And the one standard is the headwaters of the Huron, upstream of us. They have a 2nd and 3rd reference standard, so they're comparing. And these are positive sites. So this is positive news. Site number 3 of their reference is the Huron River at Zeeb Road, which is not in Webster Township, but it's just downstream of the river going through Webster Township. So that's a positive thing. That continues to be a positive reference. On the other side, the closest area where we have a concern is in a particular part of Portage Lake, which is in Webster Township. There have been spotted or reported high levels of PFAS in an isolated area, and that's currently being investigated. So Portage Lake and Bates Lake come together just above the Fluke Dam and then flow into the Huron River through Webster Township. So the overall status is only 15% of the sites they've been looking at for 3 decades get an A or a B. 50% are at C, which is WACHA, and then the remainder, 35%, are failing. So more sites right now are degrading than getting better. So they feel that there's a trajectory right now that's not so great, but it can change. So they're asking for local actions. 3. One is encourage riparian buffers and setbacks. We call riparian buffers vegetative strips, and in Webster Township we already have requirements for vegetative strips and setbacks for rivers, streams, lakes above 5 acres. So basically, if people are aware of this, we have these protections in place. Some places don't, but we do. The next one is encourage density in appropriate locations rather than sprawl. So this basic idea is to increase human density in areas that have the infrastructure to support that density, as opposed to just having a lot of 1, 2, 5 acre lots and promoting sprawl, taking huge areas of land with a lot of people spread out, which impacts water quality. So this is a topic near and dear to our hearts in Webster Township because we try to maintain a rural human density because we have no municipal water, we have no sewage treatment plant, and we have no stormwater drains in over 90% of the township. We use natural features. So in order not to overwhelm those natural features, we need to have a low density. So this topic, and then also in our last 2 master plan cycles, we've had a green infrastructure concepts, which is basically try not to put the highest impact uses in the most sensitive places. So we have some things in place throughout our zoning ordinances and master plan, but inevitably in the next master plan cycle, this will be a topic again because there will be development pressure in the future. There will be. The last one is location and timing for
Katie's
the...
been speaking for 5 minutes, so.
Oh, sorry. The last one is about fertilizer use, and we will tackle that in the Natural Features Committee. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Dave Daly, 7223 Mulder. So a couple things. Again, this month, 150 pages of, I don't know, meeting agenda, meeting stuff. You know, the first 3, if you averaged it out, it was about 18 minutes apiece, and you know, if you guys want to have 6-hour meetings, you know, it's already been over an hour to finally get to the first public comment. So that's one. 2, in taking a look at the Dexter Senior Center budget, Scioto Township has about twice the usage that we do. They have 6 times the budget that we do, and they have 1/2 of the contribution that we do. I really think that they need to go back to Scioto Township, and we need to go and be more in line with Dexter Township, maybe a little bit more than Dexter Township, but she said we were 17%, Dexter Township about 15%, and Dexter Township is giving $15,000 and we're giving $65,000. So a little discrepancy there. The other, we still don't have a top priority list that anybody's working on, or that's apparent to anybody. And every meeting, there's a different topic, there's a different priority, and there's no real follow-up. There's no, here's where we're tracking on this, here's when we're gonna close it out, this is our timeline, this is our budget to date that we've spent on this item. We just don't do that, and that's, at least where I came from, that's what we did. And then no use of the email blast. So we had the meeting canceled, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I mean, after the fact, I saw the personal email, but that's only because I'm on a committee that I got an email. But I still came here and saw, oh, where the hell are all the cards? Oh, there isn't any. Oh, there's a note on the door that says, meeting canceled, no water. Yet we've got a system that has an email blast. And, if you're signed up to it, I mean, then you're usually the ones who are coming to these meetings and want to know what's going on. And we should be using that. Or if that tool isn't a good tool, I talked with Mike on it a little bit. He says it's cumbersome, it's difficult to use, which I know John never used it either when he was a supervisor, but I mean, I don't know. That's what it was created for. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Good evening, everybody. Peter Stevens, 7500 Trotters Lane. Just a couple reiterations there. One on the budget proposals for the senior center and for the historical society. Personally, I fully support funding all of those programs, as they do offer programming and services here in Webster Township. I think that's very important. Like Dave, I'm worried about the discrepancy in funding between Webster Township and especially somewhere like Scioto that has such a larger budget than we do. I would suggest that maybe the board members could get out there to a Scioto Township board meeting and perhaps advocate for this community and ask the Scioto Township board to perhaps offer some more in funding to the Dexter Senior Center. We happen to have a board member who is also the president of the Dexter Senior Center. It may behoove some action from you folks in advocating for this community to see that what we're offering to the senior center, which I believe is money well spent, is respected by the surrounding communities that are also utilizing it, at this case, at a higher rate. I would just like to mention that the public Wi-Fi, I'm not sure is working. At least it's not listed as it is on the wall. There's something that just says guest Wi-Fi. You can click on that and then press on a random button to log in, but it's not the web, it's not like the actual name here on the wall with the password. Finally, getting more to, I guess, the discussion that was going to be occurring this evening as far as the attorney contact by board members. Over this last year, I guess I've been somewhat disappointed to see how, I'll just say catty and immature some of the fights on this board have become. Obviously, as the public, we don't see everything that's happening in the office on a day-to-day basis. We don't see how the employees are being treated. We don't see how the employees themselves are acting. I was incredibly surprised to hear some of the things that Shelley said about Mike and how he's been acting in the office. And it kind of scares me to think that we might have someone that is potentially harassing employees in a supervisory role here. You have taken away that supervisory role and given it to Jeff Harms. It seems like this discussion on attorney contact is, again, an effort to perhaps take away some of the authority that Mike has that perhaps perhaps some board members think he is abusing or using in an inappropriate way. I have things to say on that, just as far as state law is concerned. I think you guys might be going down a dangerous hole with this if you're trying to strip Mike of any of his statutory responsibilities as legal agent of the township. I'm still not exactly clear what all of this resolution would entail. But I guess my higher level comment on all of that is just with these accusations of unprofessionalism, of unethical suggestions or behavior that the board participate in. It might be a bigger question just about leadership in the township. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Sheila, long time no see.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Sheila Popkowski, and I live at 2522 North Territorial Road. I wanted to talk quick about the driveway ordinance. I find it very confusing and very expensive. I recently got a quote to widen my shared driveway if my family ever sells the land behind me. It was $200,000 quote to meet your specs and have a gas line moved. I'd also have to remove 100 trees that I have planted. I will be making an appointment to talk to you more about this in the near future. I am here today to talk to you about the old trees. I first got involved in saving the trees in our community when the road commission cut down 500 trees on my street, North Territorial, in 2018-19. But nowadays, we got a lot of people cutting the trees down besides the road commission, and I'm sure you've seen the work on Dexter-Chelsea Road by DTE Energy. We also have data centers coming in. We got new development, we got gravel mines, we got 5G antennas. All these people are cutting down our old trees. The Washington County Tree Conservation District recently posted a land survey map of the year 1800 for our county, and this whole area was wetlands and an oak and hickory forest. Ann Arbor is named Ann Arbor because it was an arbor of oaks. Now the Tree Conservation District says only 1% of these oaks remain in Washtenaw County. 1% remain. I'm wondering if we can start saving the 1% for future generations, for your grandchildren. Oak trees can live to be 800 or 900 years old, and these 300-year-old trees we have still have a lot of life left in them if we take care of them. Washtenaw County is also celebrating their 200th year anniversary this year, a bicentennial. I think these trees are not only historically significant, but culturally significant to the area, since Native Americans were known to plant oak trees to mark the trails, and some of our roads here are old Indian trails. And that's why many of these oak trees still line our roads today. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could start saving these trees with some tree ordinances to celebrate our special bicentennial celebration? I recently learned that Webster Township put tree mapping in their master plan. To protect the old trees, we need to learn where the old trees are. I look forward to learning more about what Webster Township is doing. Right now, the Road Commission has a project in Chelsea on Workner Road that involves cutting down native oak and hickory trees that are 250 and 300 years old, just to widen a very rural road. These trees were planted in 1776, or longer than that. I think they're worth protecting. There is also currently an online petition on change.org with over 1,700 signatures. They might start cutting these trees any day. I asked Webster Township to please look into heritage tree mapping and some tree protections to save these trees for our future generations. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Hi, my name is Connie. I'm on Jennings Road. I sent a letter to the board regarding the, sorry, I didn't know now I can speak in public, regarding the driveway turnarounds and changing that and the language not being clear. And I do appreciate the folks that did respond. And so I just was here to say that, and it kind of goes along with the whole saving the trees. I mean, a lot of us live out in the country because we want to be near trees, so we don't want to have to widen the roads to, I mean, it kind of almost seems to me, from what I've been hearing about the road commission, that they're doing it for purposes that might not be for what they say. It doesn't make sense, like the work nerd, like all these trees on a rural road, what is the motivation to cut down old trees? Like, who's getting paid? But anyways, I just appreciate you guys taking care of our roads and protecting those and the trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I speak again?
It's not customary. Not tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 16.
Yeah, we have second public, call the public
Yeah, at 10:30.
after my bedtime. Yeah.
You know all our phone numbers, you call us.
Okay, now on the agenda, we have board response to public comment. Would anyone like to comment?
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Okay, two things. One, and maybe the board knows this answer, but didn't we had data centers, I think, on the agenda at some point, and I thought that we pushed it to planning commission to give us some recommendations. Did I make that up?
No, it's on our agenda for tomorrow.
Okay, so it is on the,
And-
it is on the, for some
Yeah.
reason I thought we were waiting for planning commission to weigh in on it. Okay.
Yes.
And then I did see in your, which you didn't bring up, but I want to bring to the board's attention, that your notes from the Huron Watershed Council have a recommendation at the end that as the Webster Master Plan also has a green infrastructure focus, I suggest that the Webster Planning Commission and Board of Trustees consider the idea of a Huron River Watershed Council-led GI, which is Green Infrastructure Workshop customized for Webster, I'm assuming to inform our master plan.
Yes.
So I think that we should put that on a future agenda to discuss. One last comment is our attorneys are very much involved in the behavior, in the actions that we're taking, and there is no plan to strip our supervisor of any of his statutory rights.
Yeah, nor could we. Nor could we.
No, we can't.
How about you, Jeff? Any comments?
Do we normally have that as board response to public, or is that just board comments usually?
It was intended from its origin to be a response to public comment. And it wasn't, it didn't maintain that way, so.
It didn't matter, I was just curious, because I thought it was the other way.
Any comment? Go ahead. All right, so a bunch of comments. All right, so on all the tree questions, Jeannie, Sheila, and Connie, all those points are noted and well taken. You know, we have the roads village had passed. I'm the roads committee chairman, of which nobody ever attends. So you're welcome to attend, but we are talking about right now, we've gone around and mapped out where we're going to put limestone on all 42 miles. But now we're moving to drainage and trees. So we've been having an annual meeting at the road commission where we've talked with the engineering director and the director of operations, Adam Lake. And Sheila, the effort back in 2018-19 resonated there. When it comes to drainage, they do not want to touch any tree that's over so big because they know people in Webster are sensitive about their trees. So our job was then to see if we can find areas that need drainage attention. Like Local Road I keep bringing up is the classic case, just south of Walsh. There's a bunch over here on Farrell, also from George's place. But also it would be easy enough for us to start looking at where we have larger trees and then start trying to put a database together as to so we know what's there. I mean, if we see something like that coming up, we know where to go to look as to which ones would be a real concern. Because they've already demonstrated that they have a sensitivity to it. So we at least have their ear to talk to them about all the funding we're doing. And it's been civil when they've talked about it, and so I can bring that up with Adam again about the comments we heard, and see if we can either get it on our next meeting agenda in April. I echo the data center question. I think it's one of the biggest challenges facing this whole region. You know, anybody that lives in Saline right now, go talk to them about what's going on down there. It's bad, or they're not happy. You know, the folks I know that are living there are living out in a section like us, and they said on, you know, the main drag run in the Saline there, it is all day, all the time, big trucks and everything else. So us getting ahead of that, so I think it's important what we're doing with our meeting next time. Okay. Yeah, I echo all the things you said. And the whole PFAS question, I'm on the rivers all the time. There's signs right here at Hudson Mills about being careful with the water due to PFAS. It's the type of thing we should be able to get in a kayak, go down the river and not worry about. I mean, it tells you make sure you don't eat any fish, for example, because you can imagine why they're concerned. Dave, your points are well taken too about running the meetings, having budgets and working to a budget, I think is a big one. Peter, Shelley commented on yours. I agree with the senior center funding model. It's something to look at. I think that is it. Thank you all for your comments.
Yeah, I will make a comment now.
Okay.
Just,
Go for
when, when Brant's talking about us working with the road commission, we're working with the maintenance division of the road commission. So there may be a disconnect between maintenance and engineering. And so if it's a big project, it's probably engineering. They may not take the same view of things as the maintenance does, because maintenance is, they're more grounded with the people that are around them. Engineering is concerned about the engineering.
So yeah, we're talking about Matthew McDonnell, right? He's the director of engineering.
Director, yeah. No, he's the director.
Oh, fair enough, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
One more thing.
so that is the thing. We actually have had a few concerns with a couple of trees that are actually too close.
Right.
There were a few that we were wondering why they didn't, when they did our work, they didn't take them out, because they are literally right off. And they're not the big legacy trees that you guys are talking about, but they're right off the gravel surface, and they're very dangerous. So, yeah, we've had some, quite a few discussions about trees with them, but it is a different thing. They are different divisions, and they do not follow the same principles.
No, I totally understand and agree with you.
Yep.
If I may, just for clarification, I was curious of this, it sounds like it is true. So you're saying that our road funding millage, while it may focus on drainage and some potential tree removal, it's not what people are observing right now, or is planned by the county road commission. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Workner stuff is, where is
Different,
it,
but-
Chelsea? It's out by Chelsea.
Yeah, but there's been, you know, the whole drainage question of maintaining the roads gets back to what type of drainage solution we apply or seek to implement is directly related to how big the trees are in that area.
Where the roots are.
Yeah, I mean, the general feedback from the road commission is they do not want to take down big trees. They'd rather be more creative with a drainage solution than to take the tree down and put in a big ditch, for example.
Okay. And, you know, I think as you heard earlier, related to the Dexter Senior presentation, concerned about the ratio of funding, and as that body's president, you know, urge you to try to take some action on that.
Thank you. Tony?
I just wanted to, pardon me.
Thank you.
I just wanted to respond to Dave's, we are looking into fixing, I guess would be the word, the situation with the email blast. Donna and I had a conversation about it today. She's looking into other companies. She's also arranged with Bill to have a training session for the office so that we know how to use what we're already paying for. We're not using what we're paying for. Perhaps it's suitable, perhaps it's not, but we do need to figure it out. And once again, the ladies are taking on the task of handling this. So what we're going to try to do is set up just what you say. In addition to a bit of a newsletter, and we're not making any promises on how often, but to have broadcasts on what's going on, when we need volunteers, for instance, when meetings are scheduled, when there are closures for whatever reason, like we just lost our water here, or the roads are too slippery, in Tony's opinion, to have our employees out on them. So we are working on it, Dave. We're trying.
I don't have anything to add to what my colleagues mentioned. I was going to emphasize the email blast, but I would just to say generally, I deeply appreciate citizen engagement. I know there's better places to be than here on a Tuesday evening, and I thank you for coming and commenting especially.
Yeah, here.
All right, the next agenda item is the treasurer's report. So today at 5 o'clock was the last opportunity to pay your property tax on time. However, payment of property tax is still accepted at the township through the end of February. As of this afternoon, we had collected 96% of the $22.5 million levied on Webster Township property owners. We have approximately 150 reminder postcards that were mailed this afternoon to the outstanding. Regarding the elements of the treasurer's report, there are several departments that are over budget or trending over budget, and possible budget amendments are on the agenda later tonight. I also included a one-page portion of a report from the state of Michigan that has the latest state projection of our share of state revenue sharing, which they project at $705,000. And last but not least, I would like to ask you to consider making a motion to authorize new bank signers. Currently, the two deputies, the deputy clerk and the deputy treasurer, are not signers on all of our bank accounts. So I did include in a late edition some proposed language for a motion. Essentially what I'm asking this board to approve is to authorize Tony and I to continue to be signers with the addition of Amanda and Elena as signers and removal of anyone else who may currently be on as a signer.
I'll move that we authorize the signers who are listed and remove those who are not.
I also would like a direction to execute the document from Flagstar and a similar document from PNC if necessary.
I will amend my motion to include executing the forms needed by each bank to make that happen.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Shelley, second by Jeff. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for that. With respect to the rest of the elements of the treasurer's report, are there any questions, comments, advice? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I would move that we accept the treasurer's reports and pay the bills as well as those anticipated bills to be received before our next meeting scheduled for March 17th of 2026.
Is there a second?
Support.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call or? Yeah. Elena, could you call the roll, please?
Arms,
Aye.
Enzo,
Aye.
Brevant,
Aye.
Sharp,
Aye.
Vander,
Aye.
Marisak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
I'll move to receive and file the consent agenda items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Shelley. To receive and file the consent agenda reports. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, discussion, unfinished business. I have to look at my revised agenda.
DAFD interlocal.
Okay. Would you like to carry this one, Dan? I do have comments.
So Dexter Township prepared a draft of the existing interlocal agreement, which was redlined if you had color version. And they made numerous changes to update the document reflective of, various items being, I guess text being updated appropriately, just names and firefighters and what have you. But also changed changed the fundamental funding structure, which is of our greatest interest.
On page,
Which that is on
Six.
page 7 or 109.
yeah, okay, all right, I'm there.
That deals with the cost share, essentially making equal costs throughout versus the run allocation method that's currently used. And based on, well, there's two ways to look at it. Over a 10-year run average, it generally is about thirds, but the trend has been with Webster on the lower end of the run, which may be due to many factors. Good living, I think, is right up there.
PDR.
Watershed.
PDR is another thing, but, so anyway, it is what it is, and so, I think if people have, and we've shared some thoughts about this before, but it's really becoming more real now. So if people have comments and perspective that they want to share that we as the township want to utilize in our discussions with the other two entities in revising this interlocal agreement, that would be beneficial, I think, for the three representatives who are serving on that committee. And let me just share, I guess maybe we've talked about this before, but just so you know, there's a committee set up to do just that, put forth a proposal with various edits, updates to the interlocal agreement. And it may go far or it may go nowhere. We'll have to see. And then, of course, each of the participating members, municipalities, have to vote on whatever that change may be. And if it's not a 3-3, all three voting in favor of changes, it will not pass. So there's ability to, deny a change by one entity. But I think, I'll just say, my opinion is that if that occurs, there's probably going to be pressure on the city to take some other further action, which who knows what that might be. But that's just my opinion. And so I guess your temporary chair, if there are other things you care to share or want to hear from others, that's
Yeah, I don't want to fled the room with my comments, but I do have quite a few comments. So I'm happy to go now or wait till last.
Yeah, go for it.
So one of the changes that I think is not insignificant is the way that the at-large member is structured in the Dexter Township draft. And I would ask all of you to think about how you think it should be structured.
Where are you referring to that, John?
No, I didn't page 8 my.
That's on page 3.
Yeah, it's early.
First.
Yeah, they are my comments are in order of where they appear in the document, but I didn't know what page they were on. The one thing that struck me most strongly was that they want to exclude the at-large member from being an elected official, which that would exclude me since I am the current at-large member. And I would say that having an engaged board is really valuable, and we have had non-elected officials on the board. We have one now who used to be an elected official, and I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but I think that he was more effective and more engaged when he was sitting at this table than he is today.
Is that Zach?
No, that's Mr. Westbrook.
Just to that point, as a point of reference, I was initially appointed
Correct.
as a citizen.
And I think you're a better DAFD board member today because you sit at this table. Personal opinion, no offense intended.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you, I think, right?
Article 5, this one I did reference, talks about the assets, but is silent on debt. And we have some DFD board members who are big fans of debt. And I think that if you walk away from an asset, that's one thing, but if you voted to take on debt and then you're able to walk away from that debt, I have problems with that. Regarding the fire station leases, I kind of like the idea of paying $1 a year, but I do wonder about what do we think we should be maintaining or modifying. You know, how are we going to, the document doesn't make it clear to me how it's decided who's going to pay for a modification, not maintenance, the owner or the department. I'm not sure that the owner should be responsible for maintenance of small things on the interior. I thought that we were maintaining big things on the exterior. But that's something that I think needs to be very clear. Payments. The current plan is that we pay quarterly at the end of the quarter. That is really, so I am the treasurer of the fire department, and I can tell you as the treasurer that if the 3 municipalities waited until March 31 to make their first payment, the fire department would not be able to pay their bills in the first quarter. So as the treasurer of the fire department, I think that the municipalities should pay monthly on the first of the month. Department net expenditures is defined in the agreement. The only comment I made was, do we agree with that, the way it's defined? Is that how we really want it to be? And then there's language about mutual aid runs, and mutual aid runs are actually a small share of the so-called shared runs. If you look at the run report, there's runs allocated to each of the 3 municipalities, and then there's shared runs, of which mutual aid runs are a part of that. But for example, every run to the Dexter Community Schools is considered a shared run, even though all of them are in the city. because all communities have students in those schools. So I think we need to have a better understanding of what the shared runs are, and I personally do think that shared runs should be shared equally, even though I'm a proponent of a different model for the allocation of the other expenses. Dexter Township has proposed equal thirds. Over the last 10 years, Webster has been 32% of the runs. The city of Dexter has been 32% of the runs, and Dexter Township has been the big hitter. In the past 5 years, those ratios are the same, even though the trends in the first 5 years of that 10-year period were very different than the trends in the second 5 years of that 10-year period. But if we went to equal shares this year in 2026, Webster would pay $210,000 more for the exact same service that we get today. And
Can I go back to your math for a second?
Yes.
Because I'm a little confused. You said Webster in the past 3 and similarly past 5 years
no, past 5 and past 10.
has been close to 32%.
32%.
And Dexter Township was 32%.
No,
you said.
Dexter City was 32%.
But then you said Dexter Township was the
They
heavy
were,
hitter, but they would
whatever
just
the
be
difference
30.
is, 36. Dexter Township
Yeah.
has had the highest run rate for the last 5
Okay.
years and the last 10 years. Their trend is down because they learned what we do, which is we quality control the run report, and they never did that. And now they're doing that, and some of the runs are not being allocated to them because they were misrecorded.
That was a small amount.
It's a small amount, but
And it's gotten better.
it makes a difference.
It's gotten better.
Yeah. The last two things I would mention is, the way I read the current draft, it would mandate that we all adopt the fire code. I don't know exactly what that means. There's more than one fire code, and you can adopt a fire code while excluding whatever you want to exclude from what you adopt. And last but not least, it mandates fire hydrants. And I don't know what that would cost.
Seems to be expansive amount of changes, little or no input. What was their motivation for going this far?
Well, bear in mind, this draft is from Dexter Township.
Yeah,
So
right,
that's
same question.
it's an excellent position statement from them, and I'm deeply appreciative that they took the time to do that. And it's thoughtful, even though I don't agree with it. I think there's some great ideas and some bad ideas in it. The city hasn't done anything except cry that their share is too much. I mean, am I being harsh? I mean harsh, but am I being unrealistic?
I think that is true, John, although I think they have stated everybody should put forth their version. So I would assume that they're doing something with the basic document as we should.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's why I took the time to create this input, because I would like the 3 members on our side of that committee to be thoughtful in the input that we put, so that I, like you, don't want something to come to all 3 of our tables and then one party say no. I would prefer that whatever comes to our table, it's been hashed out well enough that all 3 parties can say yes.
Can you distribute your notes at some point
Sure,
to the body and to?
sure.
2 questions. So the draft that Dexter Township presented, what they redlined is the current agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And Dexter, the city, hasn't really stated a preference for a funding model. They're just saying the current one isn't working.
Correct.
Have you, as members of any of those boards, heard, aside from what the Dexter Township has presented, any other funding models?
There is a interest to abandon the interlocal agreement and shift over to an authority organization, which would give that authority the ability to levy a millage. And that would be based entirely on property value, SEV, and that would be a disadvantage to Webster Township, because we would end up paying well more than a third.
Yeah, what, 600, what's our SEV, 600 million?
We would end up 42%.
Yeah, so that's a non-starter, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's huge.
Sure.
That sort of leads to my next question, which was, could you give us some kind of outline of what the potential financial breakdown is for the different kinds of models? But right now, I hear there's two, in addition to the third one, which is what's existing. And that one, the interlocal, eradicating it and moving it to an authority is not in our best interest.
Yeah, and we have veto authority.
Yeah, right,
We could vote it down.
yeah.
So with what Dexter had thrown out there originally, and with what this is, Dexter's original thing was basically $100,000 change to us. You're saying this is two?
Yeah, because the original one-year proposal was to make 50% of the funding be based on equal shares and 50% based on runs. This would be 100% based on equal allocation and 0% based on runs. That's why it doubles.
And the committee that, I mean, we said we're willing to negotiate it and talk about it, but this is kind of like way ahead.
This is a position statement in my,
Yeah.
and I think it's good
I mean,
because
it seems like it.
I'm confident that both of the other municipalities are willing to negotiate. Do you share my confidence?
I believe they probably are, but how willing they are to, you know, that's the challenge with negotiation. So I think they're going to be, one is going to be probably further than this one, and we're further than the other side. So where do you end up? And that's the challenge.
My opinion is that every single one of the municipalities would be in a worse position if anyone left. If anyone left, we all will pay more.
Yeah, but I think you have to be prepared for both outcomes. The numbers you just threw around now, our budget has $1 million in there for fire this year, so that's based on a third. If the city walks, that means we go up to half, so it's a 17% increase. So we go up 200,000. All these formula maneuver changes are giving us something in a similar manner. So from our interest, I have two high-level, one real high-level question. Like John, Dan, from your perspective, the current agreement, is it deficient in any way with respect to the interest of Webster Township residents? Current.
I personally like paying based on runs because I think that you're paying based on what you use. And if you use more, you pay more. If you use less, you pay less. I will say that having the payment be based on 1 year of runs, it can be and has been very painful for each of the individual municipalities at one time or another. Where, you know, right now, our increase this year is like 2.5%. But the city's increase is 20-something% because the cost of the department went up and their share of the runs went up. So you get hit hard in 1 year. And so I personally like the idea of using a multi-year moving average as a way to moderate those annual swings. It won't change what you pay ultimately, but it'll moderately...
in the aggregate, it'll still be the same.
In the aggregate, long-term, it'll be the same, but the wild swings from 1 year to another could be mitigated.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, that's minor in my view. That's a minor change to what's here as opposed to a wholesale change. You know, my position is we keep as is, or possibly with John's modifications. But then in our budgeting process, and we talked about this in the past, Tony, is that we look out longer term and have an A and a B plan. A plan, I agree, all three staying in is the preference. But we should not be naive. It's already been stated by the city that they may consider moving. And if it's, the movement's 200K, that's a solid number. It's not 2 million, but it's the type of number you have to plan for. I think we should have both those plans in place. And that's how I walk into that negotiation. Is that we want to stay and work it out. But everything that's been shown right now is, for what we would say if the city goes, we're going to have to pay another 200K. All the proposals I've seen here in the last couple of months for these is another 200K or 100K that we have to pay. Of which, and we front-loaded a lot of it years back. We were paying more. Now all of a sudden, they want, all this is coming up. We didn't do this 10 years ago when we were the ones paying more.
Yeah, it's also a matter of the service. So now there's, for decades, Webster and Dexter as well, our limits, the service has been 20 minutes, which, that's not good. So we finally reached parity on that, or at least closer. And so, we've gotten there, and then suddenly it's like, oh, well, hey, it's too expensive, we need to change it. That isn't necessarily viewed similarly by others.
Well, and I think we have to have the observation, we may not agree. And at that point, is that we go to our plan B, is that, it might not be solvable, and that's my bigger concern. Is that, because all the first proposals I've seen, I think have been incredibly one-sided in their favor.
You keep mentioning that if Dexter drops out, you keep mentioning that if Dexter drops out, it's an increase of $200,000 to us, but that can't be right.
No,
The increase of $200,000 is if,
the 210 number I mentioned was if we went to equal shares.
yeah, if we went to equal shares. If Dexter drops out, it's much bigger.
It's like 600 or 800.
Yeah, it's a huge change.
Well, hold on, we're paying $1 million this year, and that's for a third. So if we go up by 20%, that goes up to 1.2 million, it doesn't double.
Well, if we're paying a third, that's $3 million. And if they duck out.
No, we're paying 1 million.
Yeah, but that means the overall budget's $3 million. And if then we're paying half, that moves us to 1.5 million, not 1.2.
Oh, fair enough, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I have high confidence in the financial analyst capabilities of the city. And if they get serious and they do the analysis of what it would cost them to split away, I think it'll be eye-opening to them.
Okay.
Well, wouldn't you envision them joining SIO?
I wouldn't envision anyone joining SIO.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't envision anyone joining SIO.
Yeah, actually, I don't know that they would. And just because of there's other dynamics, I think, there with the land acquisition and some of that other stuff with SIO I don't know that they're on great terms with regards to that.
Yeah, the dynamic is not.
I don't know why Dexter Dexter City has not done some kind of tax specifically for their safety. I mean, that's, the biggest thing is we have it, Dexter Township has it. I don't know why they haven't, and that is one of the things that I think would help them, but for some reason they don't want to approach it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's the single biggest cause of heartburn for them on their city council.
It's big.
Because every time they want to spend money on this thing, it's in a tug of war with public safety money. We don't have that here. We have public safety money and we have general fund money. Everything is general fund money for them, whether it's a playground or a fire department.
So if the city left, would our head count go down in DAFD?
Well, you need the same amount of firefighters. You would need another chief and administration.
So but would the money we spend on personnel go up or down if they left?
The money we spend on personnel will go down.
Yeah, the money would go down.
Yeah, so the 500 that's a number
Well,
down.
that's legitimate, yeah, because we're not, yeah.
Right, so it's between 400 and 500 would be our hit. I think we have to plan for it. And I hope it doesn't happen.
And if a municipality leaves, they don't get to take any of the toys,
Yeah, I understand.
which means they have to buy new toys.
Does that mean that their firehouses go up for sale?
No, everybody owns their own fire
They
station.
do, okay, I was just saying, is there gonna be a fire sale?
The fire stations are technically owned by the municipalities, not by
Right.
the,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I was asking.
All right, so I dominated a lot, and I didn't mean to, but are there any other comments on this?
I think we're willing to, like I said, negotiate it and talk about it, but and they're seeing where it's going, and it was fine before, and you can't live in the past. I mean, the fact is that we dealt with that, this township dealt with it, we paid more then, but, you know, they're getting into financial situations, and we want to recognize that we'll work with you, but they can't expect us to take a hit like that. They just can't, it's too much.
What would be a fair look back period, 5 years?
I kind of like John's idea with that, yeah.
I think Grant came up with that
You
initially.
mean as far as if we did a rolling average?
Yeah.
Maybe do 10, but.
I would be inclined to do, I wouldn't be inclined to go longer than 5, but I could model it and we could look at it.
I think we should look at 5-year look back. This is just me. 5-year look back and sharing the costs
On
once
the
it's
shared runs.
defined.
Yeah.
Whenever it's defined.
That would be significant, and I think fair.
And John, where you mentioned the at-large member, this said originally it was a 6-year term?
My term is a 6-year term, and that's the way it's been since the beginning.
And when did yours start?
I have 2 more years.
Okay.
So,
And then we've gone through that whole cycle of us, Dexter Township, city having their.
Well, it's interesting to me what they proposed, because in the batting order, they're next. But the way that they presented it, they're willing to let the city go first
Yeah,
for 3 years.
I didn't know who was next, but.
Yeah, Dexter Township is next. The city had the last one. They appointed me from Webster. I think 3 years is too short. I mean, there's a learning curve. If you want to know how a fire department operates, and there's a learning curve. 3 years is short.
Why not do 4? Especially because that's a term of the officers.
Well, the officer is a 1-year term.
No, I mean the township officers, or this.
Oh,
I don't know, the city may go on 2 years, but we're 4s.
no, they're 4 years, but it's staggered. All right, if there's no objections, I'd like to move to the next item on the agenda, which is 3 items, as I understand it. The attorney contract policy resolution for discussion, as well as discussion of zoning administrator and zoning enforcement. Who would like to begin?
I will just say my 2 cents worth, which is, after our last board meeting, came away with that there is no need, we should not have the zoning administrator and the enforcement officer on the same document, which we separated. But I also kind of understood that there isn't anything, the big issue of contention there is that Chuck doesn't want to report to Shree and Shree doesn't want to supervise Chuck. And that's really what the core of that issue was. So we may not need to address the supervision of Chuck at this point, but I do think that in the agreement, wherever it falls, of the zoning administrator, we do have to write into the contract that there is some collaboration between the 2 of them so that we can better learn why things aren't getting enforced. There could be a perfectly good reason, I'm not saying there isn't, but I just want to know, is it because of the way the language is written? Is it because, because we've heard a few things that could be interpreted as pick and choose, and I don't want that to be the case. So I think that there needs to be some better supervision of what's happening in enforcement and the decisions that are made.
Any other comments on that topic?
Yeah, I kind of looked into that after our last meeting. I had discussions with both Sri and Chuck with regards to that, and it's something that I think can definitely be handled.
Good.
I think this is just a situation where if you have somebody that is working with both of them, obviously if there's going to be supervision of both of them, then there is just a meeting of minds about that kind of thing. And again, it's the thing that we were talking about before. If Sri sees an issue with basically with how our zoning is or some of the issues, that she needs to bring it to us and document it. But Chuck also needs to do the same thing. If there's something that's not enforceable, and just like we've asked the ZBA and the Planning Commission to talk, I think they need to talk. And part of the conflict really comes down to there's what our zoning says, and then there's Chuck goes out and tries to remedy these things, and sometimes there's differences of opinions on that. And those kind of things, if there's a reason why this doesn't work, it needs to come back, and that communication just needs to be encouraged. And so I think that will go a long way to doing that. That's really those two different issues. I would agree with you. I don't think enforcement, I don't know that we need an agreement for it. Just because I don't think that that's been an issue. I think those are that's where the disconnect has been. Secondly, looking at those terms, I looked at them again and I was thinking about it, and I really don't know if there's two things. One, especially since I've been doing the one for Sri, I do want to see on the document like a sunset, and that is that we look at it like every year or something like that, because that's a commitment. I mean, you're gonna, I don't know that I want to do it for 4 years, but the bottom line is, the fact is that a lot of things in just the last couple of weeks that I've worked with Sri on has, I think, addressed or will address some of the issues that we've been hearing, and some of the issues that the public has expressed concern over, those kind of things. And I think we're making a positive change with regards to that. I don't know that there's going to be that much of a commitment of it all the way through once it gets going. That being said, I don't know, like, we had somebody that was on there that was a consultant per se, like from planning, or somebody that, I don't know that we need to put those on there. And I say that because I don't want to pigeonhole the people that are in those positions to only have to go to those people. I mean, if they need to reference somebody for an expertise on something and they know somebody, they should be able to go to it. Or if Sri thinks that, you know, George or Kay or Tom knows something differently, she shouldn't have to only go to one person on the planning, that kind of thing. And if it's not going to be a group, you know, like a committee running things, which I don't support, I think one person is the answer. I think you just leave it as this is the one person. And if you want to have an alternate, that's okay, that gets kept in the loop. But I don't think we need the third person that's kind of a consultant. The other thing that I'm just going to go with the attorney thing, I hate the idea of a gatekeeper for the attorneys. But I mean, we really need to be cognizant of what we're going to the attorneys for. Everybody does. And it's a thing of Sri, is she going for everything? Is she going for stuff that is sent by the Planning Commission? We need to be cognizant, if we get something, that is the last draft really that we need to send, instead of keep sending multiple drafts to the attorneys. I think we all have to do that, and we all have to be cognizant of these charges. And that's, if we do this, I would like to see it again for a shorter period of time so people are more cognizant of doing it, and then it sunsets. That, you know, if we're cutting those costs, let's cut them back, let's make sure that we're not just running to the attorneys for everything, and let's take care of it. But we do need, does need to be some oversight on which attorney's being used for what, and that's been a big concern too. So, I don't know how to relay that we need to make sure that this is our primary attorney and these are our secondary attorneys, and our secondary attorneys have very specific things that they're used for, that we've said we want them to be used for, not everything.
Is there, I'm not a fan of gatekeeping either, but I also want to make sure that we're using the right attorneys for the ethically right reasons, right? That the conflict of interest appearance is not there. And I'm concerned about the cost of legal representation and where it's going, and it's still not entirely totally clear to me. So, just like one of the things that I was going to suggest later is, can we come up with a subcommittee who can start looking at the high cost things that we're going to have to budget for the next 5 years?
Excuse me, Shelley, did you look at page 142 in your packet? That's a
Oh, I did see, I saw that,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
not quite as detailed, really. I mean, it's not, it's good, it's the best thing I've seen so far, I did see it.
Okay.
But I do think there needs to be potentially a subcommittee or something that sets up what the best practice guidelines are for us to reduce the cost. So one of them is you choose the right attorney. One of them is you've already checked with MTA, and you've already checked with similar ordinances in other townships that you could use as an example or drafts. We have other resources that we already pay for that have offered us some things like HR policies or those kind of things. So if we don't want to come up with a committee that is, you know, gatekeeping it, so to speak, I do think we need to, gatekeep's not the right word, but closely monitor it for some period of time to really get a list of what the best practices are that we can reduce this cost, and what we're all going to do if any of us contacts an attorney for whatever reason, including SHRE or Planning Commission or ZBA.
If you look at the resolution, I think that's what Mr. Patterson sort of put together there for you. I adjusted it a little bit because I think there was a disconnect between whoever it was, the typist and Mr. Patterson. But if you look at what he's done, it's exactly what you're talking about, Shelley. And this resolution, although some of us are not real happy with it, seems to be a good compromise, at least for now. Like Jeff was talking about, we can always vote to change an ordinance, and the publication is a couple of $100 in the Sun-Times if we decide to change it.
Resolution. Change the resolution.
Well, this is actually an ordinance. A resolution we don't have to do anything with.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
Oh, excuse me, a resolution for establishing a policy. The other one we're doing is an ordinance, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No,
What
there's
about
no cost to us then at all to re-examine it at the end of a given period and say, is this now working or no? But we certainly have paid top dollar to have them put this together for us. Personally, I think it's a good step, and I would highly recommend, now we've got it under discussion because I'm sure Mike will have something to say about it when he gets here, but I would certainly recommend adopting it because it treats everything that you're talking about.
with an end date, right? Or
We
we
will
will,
put in-
we will review our
Yes.
findings. The people who are listed as the
We could do it.
trustees, we review our findings in 6 months or whatever and look at what we can do.
We can handle it the same way we handle committee appointments. You're
Yeah.
appointed for whatever, whatever
That's
the board
fine,
thinks.
yeah.
So this township has always had a gatekeeper, as long as I can remember. His name was John Kingsley. And he was very good at keeping the legal expenses down. In the spreadsheet that's in your packet, I did that output from accounts payable. We've spent more on legal expenses in the last 10 months than we spent in the previous 6 years. And so I can go along with you and say, I hate gatekeepers, but damn it, we need a strong gatekeeper.
Yeah.
I have comments on this point also. Yeah, I echo what Tony said. I think it's excellent. It gives all board members the opportunity, if you feel that is something of a concern, that you want to talk to attorneys first without approval, you can by all means do so. That's in there and maintained. It's one of the things I talked to Chris about early on when this was here. But then, I think like what John said, I agree with all the other comments, but what I'd like to see is we start working towards a budget on the various critical departments, Chuck Tree, you can list 10 of them, and have a bar as to where our budget is that we agree to, and then as we work through it each month, that could be maybe one of our reports. Because I expect that some of the litigation, when we send attorneys to court, they are working all the time. It's easy for bills to get really big. And so other times, excessive phone calls, those are also concerns, but the best way to vet those is with that bar chart. So we set up a mechanism. Let's go back to the last year of bills. Where are we spending that money? What was our budget? And then for years coming up, let's set the budget and make sure we work towards it.
We had 2 major litigations in our history recently that went to and through the Court of Appeals of Michigan, where we were in litigation for 2.5 years. And our highest legal expense year during that time was $83,000. We're at $210,000 in 10 months. So yes, litigation is expensive, but we've been through high-level litigation before and it never approached this level.
I'm not defending any of it. I'd like to see the bar chart, just exactly where all those costs were spent, how we got to 210, and then decide how we make corrective action.
Pardon me, that's when I was asking Shelley about page 142. We've done general categories as best we could with the detail that's given to us on the bills in the clerk's office, and we broke this down between those categories. Is this kind of what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, fair enough, yes.
I would like to see it more granular, but it's
Oh.
I mean, fine.
And I'm not pointing a finger, Shelley, but without public knowledge, because our bills are indicative of where the township is spending its money, and sometimes this is in sensitive areas litigation-wise, and so to reveal how much we've spent or are spending would give up our position. So in that, again, back to what we're saying, the bills are always in your packet.
Yeah.
They're always at the end, and that's all the detail we get. Now, if you would like to see more detail, we can certainly talk to the attorneys about that and say, well, this general category just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
Let's
right.
talk about what we want to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
And I think they will.
Oh, I think they will too. Yeah.
Sorry, I did not see that. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, something to this level in touch more detail, and I think it answers your question, John.
It doesn't account for most of the money, though, I don't think.
It does too. Anyway, we can talk.
Well, 100,
Does it?
180,000 with 210 is one litigation case and all the zoning issues. So litigation is expensive, period. And, you know, that was a case, it is what it is. So keep that in mind. There has been obviously some difference of opinion on how attorneys are used and reason for it. But, you know, and there's certainly an opportunity to ensure the expense is well reasoned and well spent.
Yeah, and from a budget standpoint, I'd like to give each department direction on what we're going to do budget-wise.
Nice, yeah. In the new budget that Mike has proposed, both John and I have advocated for giving different, like just like you say, but in even further dividing with account numbers, which will make it a little harder for Elena mostly when she is doing up the bills as to what account to put it to. And so then this time, well, as soon as we implement that, which will be April 1st, we can get more granularity in the breakdown of how the money is being spent by, maybe not by name, by whom, but by department and sub-department too.
We used to budget that way. Like in 2018, each department, like planning, zoning, ZBA, they all have like 30 or 40K budgets.
Yeah, see, and we, so far as I know, I mean, they do break it down for us a little bit, Fahey. Not a little bit, quite a bit. And they will put it like under zoning, but they don't tell us. You have to actually read the line when it comes to, did the zoning administrator request this? Did the ZBA request this? Did the supervisor request this? You literally, it's a line-by-line exercise. So, but we should be able to do it by account number now. And be ahead of the game.
Yeah, I think most of it, and I looked at it, I came in and talked to Tony a little bit, and looked, she pulled up a book and looked at some of that stuff, and you can break it down and figure out a lot of what it was for. I will go and say that this board has, we do have an ordinance or a resolution right now that has it to where there has to be an attorney at every ZBA meeting, and frankly, I've brought this up before, we don't need an attorney, at least at the ones that are just the regular meetings to where they're not deciding anything legally. So if they're doing their first meeting where they're doing their officers, I don't think we need an attorney at that, and we are paying an attorney travel time to show up for these meetings.
So that should be clarified to have representation when there are pertinent issues.
Correct.
That they're needed for.
Right, and I think there's some things that we wanted to see changed on there, like how some of those orders are being written or the resolutions are being written coming out of there. And I think we need to have a template done for that, so we move further in. Part of it was how we were writing or how those were being written, the decisions. And I think we need a template, we need to start training ourselves to do that instead of having them there. Rick can make a comment on that, but there's still some bumps and stuff there, but at least right away, some of those procedural meetings, we don't need an attorney, and we have a blanket policy right now for an attorney. So I would say the first thing one of the things we need to do is change that.
Change the policy?
Yeah.
Only would you please look that up? I mean, not this one, but for our next meeting, because it'll be part of the
So I have two comments on the actual mechanics of some of the language in the document that's on the table. In 2A2,
So you're talking the legal one?
yeah, I guess it's Article 2, Paragraph A, Section 2.
135.
So 2A2, It talks about, I think it talks about copying the,
Both board members or?
yeah. And my question is, and I don't need an answer tonight, but we need an answer before we adopt anything, is how does this work when you're talking about phone calls or Zoom meetings or other modes of communication that are not email? And the other comment or question I have is on 8B. I don't understand the process of construction of this new monthly report. You've got two people. How is, if one person is authorizing sometimes and another person's authorizing other times, and then apparently once a month somebody's got to create a written report, how?
Well, we have
How does that
365, right? So you could create a spreadsheet that either person could enter information into or
Yeah.
update if we can access 365 OneDrive.
I wasn't looking for answers tonight necessarily, I just wanted to raise those two issues, that if we adopt something, we need to have practices to be able to execute.
Yeah, I think we can overcome that. I mean, populate Excel's on a spreadsheet with each activity. If it doesn't, it's unclear, we can adjust. What was your first comment, John?
2A2.
2A2. Oh, must copy.
Yeah, what do you do with phone calls or text messages or Zoom?
Zoom meetings.
Well, if you copy the board representatives on your communications, I would think that we could do almost like a minutes there. I didn't think about that when I was constructing it, but if you have for instance, like if I have a Zoom meeting with one of our attorneys about that healthcare ordinance, for instance, I would simply tell you, this is what I did. We met from this time to that time. This is who I was meeting with, and this was the outcome of the meeting. It would just be recapping very much just what happened during the phone call or during the Zoom meeting, but it would entail a little bit of paying attention to what's going on, taking your notes and so on. That's how I envisioned that happening. And like I said, I honestly didn't even look at that as a sticking point. But you're right, we do. There's mention more than once in here by Mr. Patterson about the fact that in as much as is humanly possible, practicable, I believe he used the word, everything should be in writing. So we would cut down a lot on the phone calling and the...
There's a lot of phone calls and Zooms. I know there are.
I know. But if he follows his own...
What you're talking about with section 2, number 2, I think that's just the request, right? That's not a report on what's going on.
Habits, yeah.
That's just saying, hey, John, I want to talk to Chris Patterson for, I got a Zoom meeting we want to set up a Zoom meeting for an hour to talk about zoning. I mean, it's not about, or if there's a specific thing, like Sri would say, we need to talk, I'm going to set up a meeting with Chris Patterson for an hour to go over the road ordinance revisions. That's what it is. So it's just so there's somebody else that's in the loop on what's going on.
Keep in mind too, this is not elected officials. This is department heads and appointed officials who have to do this.
I think what John is talking about really is addressed in section 8. The designated representatives shall maintain appropriate records of legal service requests and provide a monthly report. So, I'm sorry, folks. I think that what he's objecting to is legitimate. It's just not contained in 2A2. That is a request. But the reporting back on the Zoom meetings and the phone calls and whatnot would be reporting to these representatives and their records of service requests and monthly reports.
Yeah, I routinely have to keep sort of professional, keeping meeting minutes. Somebody's required to do it, and then that's then just distributed. A lot of times it's not as onerous as you think, and it's high level. For example, if you and I were doing it, John, I could take the minutes, send them to you to see if we missed anything, and then it'd be in the file.
Without objection, I'd like to move on to the next topic.
Let's come back. Dan, do you have anything else on the zoning, or I was waiting for you to, for enforcement officer comments?
I think the oversight should be by one person, which I think Jeff has that person right now, and not require additional input. That is not good. And I think he's now had some insight into what's going on, so kind of defer to your judgment on where we're headed with that. And I mean, generally, I'm disappointed we're in the situation.
Oh, here.
Yeah, me too.
And I think we're trying to take reasonable steps and action to kind of not correct, but get some oversight.
All right, so the high level comments, and then I'm done, at least a couple minutes, is, so after our last meeting, all the points were noted and well taken. So, leading by committee concern, I talked to Chris about, let's change that. So the lead is the lead in both of the documents. The alternate is there in case the lead is not available. But there's language also in there that you try to keep the alternate informed as to kind of what's going on. The similar language that's in the attorney one, in as much as possible. We can tune that. On the resource or subject matter expert, my thinking there was, it wasn't trying to create just a single person that was going to be a technical point of contact. But I think the most senior person in the building after Rick is Paul Zaluka. And so having him committing, spreading ownership, or creating a sense of ownership, that if he was willing to be available, if Sri had questions, he would go past, a random phone call that we might want to make the K. But it's not meant to be a hurdle, it's just meant to be a compliment. And similarly with Chuck, having George here, given his background in law enforcement, as well as being a PC member for the last 20 years, I was asking him something similar. But that's not meant to be a stopgap or make anybody crazy about how we're doing this. Just a resource, spreading ownership, that they are committing to be available if needed, and that's really the end of it. And then splitting them both up, so there's one for enforcement and one for zoning, and then the management structure would talk to each other. Like the stuff that Jeff and Shelley were just going through, if Mike is the head for enforcement, and Jeff is the head for zoning, if there's a question on communication, those two guys could just talk and get it sorted. And that's really as to how the management structure was envisioned on my part.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the poverty exemption. So every year we need to adopt the parameters for poverty exemption. We need to do this now because it gets posted on the Washtenaw County website, and it also is foundational to some of the work that the Board of Review does at their March Board of Review. Bill has taken the effort to put together the document that's in the packet. Essentially, the two main things that we consider are whether or not we want to be more generous in terms of the income guidelines. In the past, we have been. The table that's in section 4 of the draft document shows that continuing on if we adopt it as presented. And also there's an asset test, which is in section 6 with an asset level of $50,000. I've had several conversations with Bill about what the impact would be if we were to change either the asset test or the income test. And based on the history of applicants, it wouldn't have a meaningful impact from where he sits and where I sit if we were to make this more generous. The people that are qualifying for help are well below the amounts that are in this document. When we've had issues with people not getting approved for poverty exemptions, it's had more to do with their ability to navigate presenting the required documentation than it has to do with actually meeting the limits that are prescribed by Webster.
John?
Yes, Tony?
I've got one question, really. Under, it's on page 117, under 6A, and then going down the bullet points, bank accounts, over a specified amount, and we don't specify the amount.
So the total assets may not exceed 50,000 the way it's written, if you look at the end of the preceding paragraph. So bank accounts have not been an issue in the past, and I doubt that they would be an issue in the future. I think one of the main trip-ups on this, and some of the other things that are available, is if you have more than one parcel of land, because it doesn't take very much land to be $50,000.
So John, are you saying the 50,000 is the sum that we?
That's the total asset.
Correct, but are you saying that's what we're wanting to propose, or have that higher?
I'm not making a recommendation. I'm happy personally with the way that it's presented, but if you wanted a higher number, we can do that as well. It's literally this body's choice.
It's not, Dan, it's not in, I read the law, and they don't specify, the state, they don't specify any of this. They leave it all up to the discretion of the local government. And so if we were to say, okay, $50,000 might have been just fine 10 years ago. I don't know what it was 10 years ago.
I can remember when it was 40. We could make it 60 or 70.
Yeah.
What did we use last year?
This.
Oh, I think it was 50 last year.
It was 50.
Yeah.
Because I remember this. And I remember Grant upping one of these income levels, I believe it was.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So I used to be on the board of review. It's been, our factor has been 2 forever. There's the federal guidelines, we the township had doubled it for all recent memory.
The federal guideline numbers increase every year.
You know, but our,
The poverty, yes, the poverty table. Yes.
our factors used to be 2. We bumped them up for the lower households, number of people in the household.
It seems like over each year, we do bump it up a little bit, but I agree that I don't think we could change the $50,000 asset piece.
For a long time.
Would you like to make a motion?
I would move that we change the asset limitation to 65.
So are you moving that we adopt this document with the amendment to 65,000?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will support.
Yeah, that gives them, I don't know how far we went back, 5% a year for 5 years would get you to 65.
Any further discussion?
I think it's a good adjustment.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Is this a roll call?
Would you do a roll call? Elena, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Marisak,
Yes.
Harms,
Aye.
Short,
Aye.
Levant,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Together.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the health insurance ordinance.
I think that, pardon me again. I think Mike probably planned to lead the discussion on this one. We need to put this in place before the budget is adopted, because right now we have an ordinance and it references here a 2002 ordinance, and it is interesting to say the least. It does not, it is extremely generous. It doesn't require all of us to do what is necessary to be done, because they have changed the law. They, meaning the state of Michigan, has changed the law since 2002, and our ordinances were not updated accordingly. So we had a pardon me?
I'm sorry, I just asked him what page it is.
Oh, okay. Page 121.
Yep, thank you.
Mhm. And this document will take out payments in lieu of completely. It does not address your issue, Dan, about requiring 65 and older folks to sign up for Medicare. But if we go ahead and do the 80-20 resolution, which is part of the state statute that we have to comply with, that would in essence, 80% is what Medicare pays off bills after deductibles. So it would make this equivalent to Medicare. If you have some other issues, we could put that in. I don't know if we would get into trouble with ageism if we did that. It rescinds the 2002 ordinance. It defines what full-time is. It exempts the trustees from being qualified for these benefits, but does extend it to the officers and all full-time employees. Provides an opt-out process. And it's vetted by, like I said, it's vetted by the lawyer, human resources lawyer.
So we would have, if we want to pass this resolution, we would have to have some sort of consensus on the numbers at the bottom of page 125.
We do not. What we're passing tonight is the ordinance, which would be the first page, would be page 121 through 124. Page 125 is a resolution that we would then pass at the beginning of the budget year.
Okay.
But without this in place, without this ordinance in place, or something that modifies that 2002 ordinance in place, we would be running afoul of a statute. And she specifies it in here somewhere.
Yes, she went through that in great detail in that meeting. I'm ready to move.
I've got a comment. If I may, the definition of elected official needs to change, because that currently includes the trustees on the township board as being eligible for this.
Well,
Which I don't believe that's our intent.
if you look at section 4,
I see that, but it's a conflict that needs to be corrected.
well, what's interesting, Dan, is that initially I thought that too, and I pulled it out. But if you look at the state words in their statutes, pardon me, they don't call officers, they call everyone elected officials in this statute.
But
And
here
that's why I
you,
left it in.
but here you say that elected officials is all of us, and then the rest of the document is saying that in fact elected officials are not us, but it still calls us all elected officials. It's confusing. It's confusing. It really needs to be, it needs to lay out that it's the officers who are eligible.
So you want me to change it back regardless of what the lawyer put in here?
I do.
I think B could read supervisor treasurer, supervisor clerk treasurer.
Okay, or elected officers.
Section 4,
Elected officers.
section 4B.
Okay, we'll change that to officers.
Well,
And
I would be more specific. I would list the officer titles because of what you said. You said the state doesn't recognize officers, but they do recognize supervisor, treasurer,
Yes.
and clerk.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you do that, if you change B to elected officers and then, colon with who those are, then you can do a simple replace, find and replace in this document and replace officials with officers, and then it will match up.
Okay. Okay. And do you want me then to strike that last sentence she put in? The trustees of the township board, though elected officials, are not eligible.
No, that's a belt and braces approach.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because
Okay.
that addresses the definition as elected.
Yes.
Okay, doke.
So we're ready to move as amended? I'll move it
Make a
forward.
motion.
I'll move it forward as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I've got a feeling that we've got more discussion.
Oh, fair enough.
So we have a supported motion. Is there further discussion? I thought you thought there'd be more discussion.
I did.
Dancing
Because
boys
they're
there for
both
a minute.
looking, yeah.
We'll wait.
It's a big deal, we should.
Go ahead.
My only concern, and it does not impact whether or not we pass this, because I agree with what's in here, is that some people have been relying on the income from opting out. And I do think we should not offer payment in lieu of taking the insurance, but I do not want to punish the people who are already getting that as part of their income, so I want to make sure we address that.
Yeah, and that's addressed in the budget under that individual's salary.
Perfect.
Yeah, we talked about that actually.
Yeah, I just want to.
Right.
Any further discussion?
So this is just one part, this is next.
That's next month.
Next month.
Gotcha. It needs to be cleaned up. We passed something though last year, right? Did that get rescinded? Or what was that?
We're passing an ordinance if this passes.
Okay.
We haven't done an ordinance on this in,
Since 2002,
What was it last year, a
it
resolution?
was just a resolution.
Okay.
Mhm. That would have to be renewed annually.
But that resolution doesn't have to be,
No, it doesn't.
We have to do the resolution annually,
okay.
every
But
month.
it
Well, I know
will be,
this we did, I didn't know if that one.
The ordinance is if we get it right, it should last for many years.
Right.
The resolution we have to do every single year.
All right.
Motion's on the table.
So, I don't know about ordinances, if it needs to be a roll call, I would
it
think
does,
so.
yes.
Would you please call the roll?
Provence,
Aye.
Sharp,
Aye.
Vander,
Aye.
Harms,
Aye.
Honzo,
No.
Persick,
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Dan, what are your reservations?
I'm looking on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of the Dexter Area Fire Department budget payments. So it's been our custom to pay the fire department monthly. And in the letter from Chief Armstrong, you can see that this year our monthly payments, if we pay monthly, are $102,897.80 per month. And what we're asking for is for this body to authorize those payments throughout the rest of this fiscal year, throughout the rest of this calendar year. I misspoke. This is for 2026 calendar year. Unfortunately, our fiscal year and their fiscal year are out of phase.
And this is assuming then that the allocation method stays the same?
The allocation method is fixed. The discussions we're having on the interlocal agreement would start whenever we elected to start them, most likely January 1st of 2027. So, may I have a motion?
Is there any comments or concerns from the officers on this issue?
John, have you checked the map?
There's a document on the next page, which is in our packet. What is the page number?
It is page 130.
I don't see a page number, but anyway. Yeah, you can see the interlocal formula
That's based on, I'm sorry, that's based on through third quarter. I'm sorry, through end of October.
Oh, you're right.
I think our obligation, wait a second.
If it's wrong,
Yeah, I think we're at 27.8%.
Based on his letter.
So what's your point, Dan? Hold on.
No, he's saying
The
that the
point
chief.
is, the chart that's provided is not,
I know, I'm looking at the percentage numbers. He has 28.5 on page 130. Is that what you just said?
28.49
Yeah, right.
through 10, 30, through 10,
25.
Let me pull up.
Oh, I see. Fiscal year 25, we had 31.15. Oh, I see. It's one, there's just a 1 year look back. Okay. And the 1 year look back is 31.
I had confidence and now I don't, Dan. Thank you.
I mean,
It seems like maybe we should bring this back next week. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah.
All right.
Because this is a short,
Fair enough.
fast mover.
Mhm. All we're doing is requesting that they
We
take a
need
look
to,
at it.
we need to double check the chief's math.
Well, because here the budget is,
Ken, based on the final run report, I show city 37.9, Dexter Township 34.2, and we're at 27.8.
Okay.
Those are numbers,
wait,
I don't know where you came up with.
I believe you're correct.
well,
I
this
believe-
is a fiscal year 2025. Right here. that
But the run allocation is based on the calendar year.
That's correct. And
okay.
All right, it's a good catch. Okay. We need to move to do something.
Yeah, it'll be postponed.
we don't need to take any action. We'll just bring it on the agenda at the next meeting. Thank you for that, Dan. I appreciate it. I will disclose to you that we have already made 2 payments in this amount.
Seems like that's correct a little.